A courageous return to the place that's haunted her for almost 40 years. Debbie Manson seeks answers and closure from this house of horrors.
I live every day with what I went through. Nothing stops that.
Debbie was sent to Brisbane's Wolston Park Mental Hospital as a suicidal teenager in the late 80s. She committed no crime, but was detained for 6 months at Osler House, the female ward for those judged criminally insane. A review is underway into patients' treatment at the institution, sparked by an ABC investigation. And for the first time, our camera crew has been given exclusive access to capture a rare insight into this fading nightmare. Debbie alleges she was sexually assaulted, beaten and chemically restrained at the facility.
We were all Hannibal Lecters as far as the staff were concerned. You weren't allowed your own clothes. You weren't allowed a photograph of your family. If you were in the side I was in, you weren't allowed anything.
Inside room 3, her former cell, Debbie confronts her trauma head on.
That was all you could see if you wanted to see the staff. And provided you weren't too bad, you could reach the alert buzzer here to alert the staff that you want to go to the toilet, but they'd never come during the night time.
The abandoned ward is in ruins and has been boarded up to stop urban explorers causing further damage. The site is heavily guarded and trespassers risk fines or charges if they intrude.
Honestly, I want the exploring to stop and come and pay respects to the people who were patients. Find their stories, read about what they went through, because there's nothing to see in there but an empty shell of a building.
The Wolston Park Mental Hospital closed in 2001, but it's a key part of Queensland's history. First known as the Woogaroo Lunatic Asylum, its patients have faced their fair share of stigma.
When I was growing up and older generations, just the word Goodna basically meant you're crazy, you're a loony, you should be in Goodna. You know, that's the kind of thing people said in the schoolyard.
Jo Besley curated an exhibition at Brisbane Museum called Remembering Goodna, which reflected on the human impact of Wolston Park. She says in the early days, patients were restrained by straitjackets and boots were locked onto their feet.
It was really founded on the whole idea of separation and separating people who experienced mental distress from the community. It was always understaffed, insufficient space, underfunded, and for a long time it was really just about custodial. There was no treatment.
Things improved as the years went on, but allegations of abuse persisted.
One thing that historical research has shown is that if you were not discharged from the hospital within the first year, you would be likely to stay there for a very long time, if not your whole life. There were most definitely people in there that should not have been there and did not receive anything that you could call treatment.
The heritage-listed buildings are unlikely to be demolished, but time is slowly claiming some of the site. Jo Besley believes the buildings not in use should be restored and repurposed.
It's always really concerning to see the buildings just allowed to rot, because then it's just too hard.
Both women hope the inquiry delves deep into Wolston Park's dark history.
I just want truthful answers. For me personally, I don't want to hear the blame game of, oh, well, we'll blame Queensland Health, will blame the mental health system, and everybody's just passing the buck.
I want to see some real tangible justice, and I would like the people who experience the injustice to tell us what that is and for them to be listened to and heard.
Ownership of the site is a complex issue. Queensland Police own some of the buildings, including Osler House, and Queensland Health owns others. Both deny the site's in ruins and say most of the buildings are in use or have been restored. A final report from the Wolston Park Review is due to be delivered in October. But for now, Debbie Manson says returning to Osler House has helped her heal.
I've been privileged by the staff of letting us go in there today. It's sort of, I feel a little bit closer to closure.
Eden Gillespie, ABC News, Brisbane.